My name is Tawfiq. I am UTM student BITS Group 1, and I am belong to Group 6 to do this assignment.
My name is Ng Zen Hao. I am currently studying computer science, specializing in software engineering in UTM. My hope is to someday contribute to Industrial Revolution 4.0 in future.
Hello everyone, my name is Ammar bin Jamaluddin. I'm one of the Group 6 members of BITS Group. I hope you can learn something from our coding for this BITS assignment. Thank you.
Hello everyone, today our group, which is Group 6, which like to introduce to you some assembly language code that run with QTSPIM. This one. Our program or our coding will run 4 type of program, A, B, C, D. What are these A, B, C, D is? This one. Okay. The program allow user to input 10 random numbers, and after user input of this number, this program should be able to display A, the numbers that have been sorted in descending order, B, the sum of the entered numbers, C, the average of the entered numbers, and D, the maximum and minimum numbers from the value that we input just now. Okay, to show you some demonstration, firstly we need to open the QTSPIM program. We load the file that we need, which is our group project. Just reinitialize the project. Okay, and then we run the program. Continue. Put any random 10 numbers. So I just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 11. There you go. You can see the numbers in descending order is 11, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The sum of the numbers is 56, and the average number 5.6. Maximum number is 11, and the minimum number is 1. Okay, how did we do this? No problem. Another part of the video will show you how the coding being run part by part.
First, in this data segment, we declare an array of 40 bytes because 40 bytes is equivalent to the size of 10 integers which is required for this assignment. And after that, we also declare the variables that are needed for other functions in this program, for example, size, sum, and average. And the following is the string statements which will be used in other program. And the first function is to input 10 values from the user into the program. First, we need to initialize the loop counter to 0 and also set the loop sentinel to 10 so that the loop will end when the loop is run for 10 times. In the loop, we use the read integer command to read the integer from user. livo.5. After that, we move the input from $VO into $T4 and store it into the array. And this loop is repeated for 10 times. The feature of this function is to sort the numbers into descending order. In this function, we use an algorithm known as bubble sort to list the numbers in descending order. For now, let's see the example while I explain the theory. In this algorithm, the program repeatedly checks the list and compares each pair of adjacent items. If the number pair is in wrong order, their position is swapped, and this action is repeated until no more swaps are needed. Do you still not understand? It is okay. Let me explain the steps one by one. In this simple diagram, we have a list consists of 5 numbers, which is 2, 2, 5, 4, and 3. The first step is to compare the first and second number. And as you can see, the first and second number are not squared because they are equal. So the next step is executed, which is comparing the second and third number. In this case, 5 is larger than 2 and therefore their positions are squared. For now, let's go back to our code. First of all, we need to have two loop counters. Therefore, the first thing we do is to declare and initialize the outer loop counter T0 and inner loop counter T1. Next, we load the array address into $A1. And in the descending loop, we use the LW command to load the first element into T2 and the second element into T3. The first element can be loaded into registry just by loading the array address with offset 0, which is the number outside the bracket of A1. But for the second element, you need to load 4 into the offset. If the first element is less than the second element, the elements are squared. And if it's not, just go to the next loop, which is moving the array pointer to the next element and start comparing the other numbers. Once the inner loop is run for 10 times, the inner loop counter will be reset to 0 and 1 will be added to the outer loop counter. And if the outer loop counter reaches 10, it indicates that the sorting is completed, and now we just need to output the numbers. We use the LIVO4 to print the statement first. After that, we load back the numbers from the array. We use LW again to load the numbers into $D8. Because the numbers have been sorted, the first element will be the largest number. And then we move the array pointer to the next element again and print it again. After we reach the 10 number, the loop will be ended.
To calculate the sum of the numbers, we need 4 registers. First register is register S1. Is the loop counter. It acts as a sentinel to end the loop once it reached 10. Second register, which is T1, the store of the value of one of the elements in the array. The third register, which is register T3, is used to store the total value. The fourth register is register A1. Is used to store the address of the array. In the loop, we load the elements of the array one by one, adding up the numbers found into the register T3. After terminating the loop, the register T3 will contain the sum of entered numbers, which will be displayed on the central screen.
Hi everyone, I will explain about the function to calculate average of the entered numbers. First of all, we need to have the total value of all numbers that we entered, which is 10, into some. We must put the 10 values into one of temporary holder for the number. In this example, we choose ST4, cellular 4. Input the 10 into the ST4, and then we divide the total input of numbers with the total values of numbers, which is we put it in the T3 just now from before. So this T3 divided into T4, and the result from that division is divided into two sections, which is the MFHI T5 MFI and the MF low, which is the T6. T6 is equal to the quotient or the value of the remainder, and T5 is the remainder from the value of the division. Yeah. Okay. After that, we call out the quotient before we can call out the quotient, we need to input some statement. Therefore, we need to call in the string that we defined just now and above, average statement, to see out average statement. After we call this thing, so that everybody know what's the number referring to. Then we call out the quotient of the number. However, because currently we are divide every number by 10, we can use this technique to make the result looks like a floating number even though it's not a floating number. Basically, we call out first the quotient number, like I said just now, from 36, and then we call out a decimal point to make the number look like a decimal, and then we call out the remainder of the number. So then we have the results looks like a floating number even though it's not a floating number. Alright, now we come to the last part of the function, which is function to calculate the maximum and minimum numbers. This is the coding for the function. First, we need to reinitialize the address of the array, LA1, and input the values. And then we need to load the first element of the array into temporary values. In here, we choose T5, and this is the first element of the array. Then we move the temporary element 5 into temporary element 4 for convenience reason. After that, we need to set a loop counter, and also we need to set a loop sentinel. Loop counter here is equal to 1 because we have 1 to 10 value in our array, therefore the loop sentinel will be 10, number 10. Alright, so how do we find the maximum number? This is the looping, because we have 10 inputs on our array. So the branch equal, this branch equal referring to our loop counter and also our loop sentinel. In order for this function to stop, our loop counter must be equal to loop sentinel. Okay, never mind. And then we have the pointer, array pointer to the next value. This is important because every single address in our coding or in the code has is incremented by 4 value. That's why we need to use add immediate 4 so that the array pointer can move to the next value in the next address. Hence, we get the next value to be loaded into by using this function. See, load the next values of array into T2, temporary 2. After that, we use the increment for the loop counter, add 1 to the loop counter. Therefore, our loop counter number is increasing until it reaches 10. After that, the comparison, which is bigger or greater, branch greater or equal to. This branch greater or equal to refers to our second element of array and our first element of the array. If our first element of the array is smaller than our second element of the array, therefore automatically the coding will jump into this change maximum value. The T2 will take in place of the T4. Temporary 2 will take into temporary 4 value. We call it update for the maximum number. However, if the value of T2 is less than value of T4, we doesn't need to go to this function. Just loop to the next value of array, which is element 3, and that's how the number is being looping, and this is how we get the maximum value. So again, from when the looping is already done, so the T4 value is our maximum value from our array value, total array value. We just need to print out the value of T4. So this is the print out command, print string command st4. So we get our maximum value. For our minimum value, basically is the same step. Sentinel, the loop counter is still 1, the sentinel 10. You just change the difference on this function, which is branches less or equal. So if the value of T2 is less than the value of T4, we jump into the change minimum value, exactly as changes in maximum value, just minimum value. However, if the number in T2 is greater than T4, it doesn't need to go to this function. Directly we do the looping for minimum loop number. And then same again, after all of this looping is done, when the looping done 10 times is ended, we will go to this print out command for the minimum value. So that is how we get our maximum and minimum value.